Residential Evil by Rob Smit. Summer heat, sun high in the sky, houses in rows like hot boxes, lines of driveways feeding onto a common street, overgrown grass in front lawns, wild shrubbery, cicadas ringing out in the trees. Then silence. A motor. It's 10 o'clock. The clients will be there at 10:30. Wayne thought this as he drove faster than was advisable. Doesn't matter, he thought. No one living is walking down this street anymore. Sailing his truck down 4 empty roads that make up Coldstream, Ontario, just outside of London. His destination was a 2-garage country house at the end of the road on Lewis Drive, in a quiet green-lawned suburb of Coldstream. The owner put it up for sale 1 week before things officially went sour in the world. Now, after months of living dead chaos and, worse than that, slow business, someone had finally replied with a bid. Pulling up along the curb in front of 121, he parked and turned the Dodge's engine off, listening as the engine ticked and cooled. He allowed himself 1 second, just one brief moment, to reflect what a nice and peaceful place this would have been to live in. Then, as a good habit of survival, he scanned the vicinity in all directions before getting out of the truck. He spotted subtle movements behind an apple tree in 121's front yard. An old man zombie was sprawled there, thrashing in the grass in the cool shadows of the evergreens at the end of the cul-de-sac. Wayne retrieved his well-used baseball bat from the back seat of the Ram, charged the old dead man, and batted the corpse's head clean off its shoulders before it could rise to its feet. It sagged and lay still. As usual, whenever he had to put someone down, he posed in a melancholy stance and stared meaningfully at the figure on the grass. The crawler was probably someone's beloved grandpa. A classy gent from the looks of him, because he was wearing a blue suit with a blue silk shirt and a handkerchief in the breast pocket. Wondering how much the suit cost, he dragged the corpse under a ratty brown tarp next to a woodpile near the cul-de-sac, and then checked his watch again. 10:15. Time to get to work. Trotting back to the truck, he opened the back door to retrieve a small red tote box of cleaning supplies. He tucked his bat under his left arm, the box of cleaning materials under his right, and fumbled the key for 121 out of his pocket. The front door opened with a long squeak. There was a short dead man standing motionless in the living room next to a sliding glass door overlooking the backyard. Stink! Wayne sprayed lavender glade in the air, and then sneaked up silently behind the figure. The zombie was wearing overalls, so Wayne thought he could be one of the maintenance men who was fixing up 121 when all this BS happened. Maybe one of the furnace installation guys. In life, he must have looked like Mario from Super Mario Bros., complete with the big black mustache. Now he's just another undead goon. The zombie's head tracked slowly as it stared at a fly buzzing and bumping in the window pane. Not wanting to get blood in the living room, Wayne scooped up an empty trash bucket and dropped it over Super Zombio's head. As the furnace installation man flailed and jerked, Wayne tugged the patio door open and pushed the corpse out. The zombie's toe caught on the door jamb, and it lost its already precarious balance, rolling over the patio fence and down the grassy back lawn into the woods and scrubland beyond. Wayne peered out over the back lawn. You can still see the humps in the grass where the graves were. The previous owner had buried his family there at the very beginning of the Troubles, when it was not known what to do with all the bodies. The area where the zombies clawed their way out was still noticeable in a certain light. He'd have to order another truckload of sod. His clients would no doubt insist on this. He expected them to be very particular. People called Wayne unscrupulous because he was willing to do anything to make a sale. This was, let's face it, 100% true, but why not? Why not try all the options? These days, with a complete lack of customers and with the bottom falling out of the real estate market because there's an oversupply of vacant property and not enough people to pay for them, he had been forced into adapting, like a city-bound raccoon, into becoming creative. He responded to shortage by tapping into a previously untapped market of customers. A car engine. He looked at his watch. 2:25. Damn, they're early. He snatched the drapes shut across the view of the backyard, sprayed the place liberally with more lavender room spray, gave everything in the living room the final once-over. Breathing deeply, best smile on his face, he trotted out onto the driveway to meet a gray and blue Tesla parked behind his Dodge on the driveway. Inside the Tesla, he could make out the figures of a curly-haired woman, a man, a child, and a dog. The window rolled down, and the woman stared up at him. She was gaunt, with worm-eaten features and gray dead eyes, her rotted jaws open and shut, maybe greeting him. In the passenger seat, the husband was equally dead, his face half torn off. The little boy was the worst of the bunch. His innards had slithered out of his torso and were piled up on the seat beside him. The mound of guts was so tall, it should have had its own infant car chair. The eviscerated corpse child was busy gnawing on the dog's tail. The dog, a rotting white poodle with blood matting its kinky fur, didn't seem to notice. "Goddamn zombies," Wayne thought, and then turned on the cheese. He pointed little finger guns at each of them while saying their names. "Trish, Bill, Walton Wellington." Walton's the child. And then snapped his fingers with a flourish. "Hello, I'm Wayne, your real estate agent." The zombie in the driver's seat, Trish, worked her jaws and waggled a decomposing tongue. A moan came out, which sounded approximately like, "Nice to meet you," but with none of the consonants. Wayne continued smiling. "Been waiting long?" Trish hissed. "Just got here." "Oh yeah? Where did you drive from?" She flopped her head forward, momentarily dead. Her husband took up the conversation. "Windsor." "Oh, Windsor. Wow, that's a long drive. How was the 401? The dead man shrugged, as if to say, "Not bad." "Well, anyway," Wayne continued, "it's probably a long, hot drive. Do you need a bottle of water or anything?" No one said anything. The child continued sucking the dog's tailbones. "No? Okay, well, let's go inside 121 and take a look." In slow motion, the dead Wellington family slumped out of the car, crooked and stiff. The father squinted, slipped on sunglasses with clumsy fingers, not because the sun was bright, but because his eye was on the verge of falling out. Wayne led the way, secretly petrified to turn his back on them. He expected to be brought down from behind at any second, to feel their chomping jaws on his neck, but they were there for business, and presumably were restraining their man-eating tendencies. He started his pitch. "I'm sure you read the pamphlets I sent. Not only is the price tag fire sale low, but before the incident, this neighborhood was featured in McLean's as one of the best locations for community living." Wayne used the term incident when talking about what happened. He found that zombies bristled with indignation when people used the words zombie apocalypse, and he'd learned with disappointment that an offended zombie would no longer be a paying customer. Trish's dog was sniffing around the woodpile and then the tarp. Suit Zombie Grandpa's foot was still protruding from under the tarp. The mutt whined and licked its desiccated chops, as if smelling something appetizing. Wayne shuddered. "Oh, what's your dog's name?" "Scooter." "Cute little devil. Scooter! Come here, Scooter." Scooter stared at him with withered gray eyes, blind, but still able to see. The dog tottered towards Wayne on 3 broken legs. It was a disquieting sight. Wayne explained how the evergreen trees had had some limbs chainsawed off because raccoons had been perching in them. The raccoons left a bit of a smell. "I guess that's what old Scooter's sniffing there. I'll get it cleaned up on Monday. Come here, boy." He forced himself to scratch the dog behind the ears, and his fingers sank into its jelly-like decomposing scalp. Thank God he was still wearing the blue latex gloves. Wayne opened the front door to let his motley crew in, and as they crossed the threshold inside, he heard Trish Zombie exclaim in a hissing expulsion of pleasure, "Wainscoting!" She had discovered the attractive wooden panels that lined the front hallway right away. It was always a hit with women, living or dead, because it was reminiscent of houses seen in Oprah House porn magazines. Wainscoting panels ran along the lower walls and all the hallways, along the boundaries of doors, even on the kitchen island. It was very waspy and Midwestern, perfect for a country house. Wayne followed behind the family, but not too close because their stench of rot was cloying. They must have been fly-blown and rotting in the outdoors for quite a while. He tried not to gag as he explained the wainscoting's history. Yes, these panels are brand new. They were installed 2 years ago during a period of renovation. Needing an urgent breath of fresh air, Wayne went back to the front door and stood outside, making a show of calling Scooter. Scooter! But the damn dog didn't want to come in. It just seemed to want to lie down and die. So he shut the door and left it outside. He continued with the tour. The first thing you notice when you enter is how open it feels in here. This is what we call a cathedral entrance. Look up and you'll see a skylight, perfect to hear the rain on those warm summer country nights. He was so full of shit. He'd never sat under a skylight listening to rain. He hated rain, and on any warm summer night, he'd be hanging out with friends in Mexico, probably shit-faced on tequila, enjoying Mexican hookers. But these people didn't need to know that. See this lamp? Lead pane glass, Tiffany style. There are others in the study. The man Zombie Bill nodded, interested. Study. Clearly he planned to spend many hours rotting inside a quiet little library room, a glass of formaldehyde in his hand perhaps. Into the kitchen, Wayne led them, his arms spread wide. Wow, right? Now this is space! Kitchen open concept, marble top island, looks just like a restaurant in here. Now all it needs is a blueberry pancake buffet and cheesecake desserts. Trish in particular nodded appreciatively at the hardwood floor. It's planks of mahogany and pine. They'll give up their aroma when the sunlight warms them up, so your kitchen will always have a fresh forest smell to it. Wayne spied blood flecked in a telltale splash arc down the side of the counter. Damn, he missed that. He leaned surreptitiously against the blood stain and smeared it away with his pant leg. His pants were dark anyway. Bob raised his blind eyes and smelled, making a large, exaggerated snore. Slight smell. How the hell can they smell anything beyond their own rot? Wayne wondered. It's the hydrogen. The hydrogen sulfide in the well, but proper filtration will get rid of that. But Bob was still agitated by the smell, and he grunted and twitched. Like something died here. That's the weird thing about zombies. They're very picky, and despite the disgusting rotten state they present themselves in, they insist on absolute cleanliness, absolute precision, whether it's a discussion about property size in millimeters, or a debate about whose responsibility it is to oil a squeaky hinge in the garage. Those stiffs can be real sticklers. One time, Wayne was attempting to sell a house to a zombie named Kane. The house came with a child's playground and a sandbox. During the showing, Wayne had walked through the sandbox thinking nothing of it. Later, when it came time to seal the deal, Kane balked. The zombie wanted to count the grains of sand that had been tracked out of the box by Wayne's shoes and receive a fraction of discount for each grain of sand lost from the box. Yeah, picky, and inexplicably cheap, too. Wayne often wondered about this. What possible reason could they have to save money? They were also somewhat lazy homeowners, but what would one expect from dead people? Regarding the complaint of a lingering smell, Wayne was on his game. Right, I hear you, Bob, and I would agree with you, but I know for a fact that that's definitely sulfur. The nose can be fooled by the rotten egg smell, and this time of night, it seems pretty rank, but I promise to you, we'll get that pump serviced. In fact, I think a new one's coming on Monday, just in time for the jacuzzi to be delivered too. Yes, sir. The next 2 weeks will be installations of new appliances, and I expect the home to be ready for use by the end of the month, if you're thinking of waiting that long to close the deal. Bob was still concerned, his dead nose twitching. His wife joined in the sniffing too. The little boy had shambled over to the windows looking out over the back patio and had drawn back the curtain blades to see the view. He gasped, his intake of breath a hideous bubbling like gas leaking from a tar pit. Mommy! People! People, thought Wayne. He went over to the back windows and pulled the curtain away. The graves in the backyard were writhing with motion. A clawed, white, worm-eaten hand emerged, grasping for something solid to pull itself up with. Oh, Christ, Wayne groaned. Those body removal assholes, a couple of Greek fellows, had guaranteed him that they had removed the bodies of the former homeowner's family. They obviously lied, because who the hell was burrowing out of the backyard? He'd definitely not work with those olive-chewing cheats again. When Bob and Trish saw the resurrection in progress in the backyard, they were visibly upset. They turned to Wayne, their gums and lips flapping, sentences approximating meaning. Previous owners, he moaned. Only us. She groaned so hard, dust of decomposed matter flew from her lips. They each crossed their arms over their chests, the zombie sign of unhappy and recalcitrant customers, the universal sign of a deal about to go south. Wayne sighed. He raised his hands in supplication. I'm so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Wellington. I was under the impression that the previous tenants had been moved out. I didn't know they were still there. Get rid of... Fine, the things he did for a sale. Wayne snatched up his bat, never far away. No problem, Mr. W. Said and done. He pushed past the rotting toddler, whose clammy hair brushed against him, and he shivered. He'd never get used to being so close to corpses. He vaulted the wooden railing of the back sun porch and trotted towards the figures pulling themselves up from the earth. A shambling shape, possibly a woman, had made it fully out of her burial pit. He clubbed her down mercilessly until she was fully and properly dead, booting her back into the culvert of the grave. The head of a fat man emerged from the second grave plot, maggots dripping from his mouth. Wayne wound up and swung for the fences, smashing the man's fat head in a southward line drive, bouncing it away into the forest. It left a long trail of white matter and maggots in its wake. Breathing heavy, he wiped his bat off in the grass and turned back to the family standing in the door. Okay, previous tenants evicted, he panted. My apologies that you had to see that. The zombie family nodded gratefully and with some sort of respect as Wayne re-entered the house. He tapped sod off his shoe soles before entering, setting the baseball bat aside. And you can see how flat and easy to dig the soil is back there. I'd recommend that you consider getting an outdoor pool, and we can offer you that at a low rate. Mom and Dad looked at each other. The little one clapped its hands in excitement. Wayne continued, Just close your eyes and imagine how it will look back there with a completed 20-foot pool and 1 acre of backyard. We could have one installed in a month. Bill curled his parchment lips back over yellow organic matter-caked teeth, and he rocked back and forth. It seemed he was happy. Wayne decided that the moment had come. Well, Mr. Wellington, I'll stop whining and you can start signing, because it looks to me like you're standing in your new home. Real estate papers were signed with an X. This was pretty standard in undead real estate deals. Initial payments could begin on Mr. Wellington's Visa card, which, despite his death, had never been discontinued. Wayne scanned it with a portable scanner, uploaded it to head office, and then took a physical imprint of the card for good measure. He was old school like that. He attached all relevant receipts to the sales papers in his file, and sealed up the client's copy in a flashy red duotang. He placed it on the kitchen island. As he did so, he noticed the zombie family starting to act a little differently, and he looked at his watch. It was 6 o'clock. Dinner time. He heard growling, but it wasn't from them, it was from their stomachs. They had driven from Windsor, after all, and hadn't had a bite to eat for a while. Unnerved, Wayne's eyes darted towards the front door. It was 10 feet away. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Wellington, he began, his infallible charm faltering as he became increasingly nervous. I'll let myself out, and we'll be in touch about that pool installation. The trio had begun encircling him, and stupid, he had left his bat over by the back door windows. He backed up slowly, then not so slowly. Lovely wainscoting, he desperately commented, hoping to distract them, but they were singularly focused on him as they approached. Wayne felt his back hit the front door, fumbled his hands low over the door handles, twisted it open. The fresh air promised freedom and life, and he boot-scooted backwards, smiling outwardly. Inside, he was screaming like a teenage girl, but he resisted the urge to run. Good salesmen don't do that. He kept waving goodbye as he retreated, and the family waved goodbye too. still closing the distance on him, smiling and drooling. The waving hands stopped waving and started grasping. Oh, to hell with... Wayne started to break into a full run, but he stumbled over the dusty bones of the dead dog on the lawn, stumbled and fell on his back. The Wellington family pounced. A good salesman doesn't just move products, he moves hearts. He becomes part of the family. What an honor it was for Wayne to be the Wellingtons' first dinner guest in their new house. Afterwards, the Wellingtons could not give him high enough praise on their Yelp review. Bob wrote, "He truly had great taste."